This is Ottawa, Canada, 2020, when Justin Trudeau is having his RCMP throw out a journalist for no reason, because I wouldn't show him my phone.
That the government can just arbitrarily decide that you're not a journalist. This isn't China. We have a free press. And I think Justin Trudeau's Liberals are going to find that out the hard way.
So we're here waiting with the rest of the media to get in and ask these questions.
So, just yeah. Wait, ready? No, you're not going in.
No, I'm sorry, I use my battery.
No, not good.
Why is that? Are all of you members of the media okay with this? How the federal government is treating media in this country? You're going to allow them to pick and choose what reporters come in? Sheep is what you guys are.
Close P1. No picture on the ground.
No picture on the ground?
You're not allowed to take any pictures of the security fans here. I ask you to review your camera right now.
Sorry?
I'm going to ask you to review pictures right now.
You want to review my pictures?
If you don't show me, I'm going to ask you to escort you out.
I'm not showing you my pictures, man.
Okay.
This isn't Hong Kong.
Okay, let's go. You're not welcome on this site.
I'm actually,
Guards
let me in.
No, I'm telling you, being in charge of the site, you're not welcome. Okay? I'm going to ask you to leave, or we'll be escorting out.
I don't have an intention to leave. I want to ask
Do you have a car here?
questions. Sorry, what?
Do you have a car here, or did you walk in?
I walked in.
Okay, let's go.
Are you going to arrest me?
I'm going to escort you out.
So he's not arresting me.
Okay, let's go.
Don't touch me.
Hey, well, not welcome on this side. Okay.
This is Ottawa, Canada, 2020.
The first thing that stands out is what a self-inflicted wound Sergeant Leduc did on himself, because this is the definition of overkill. This is the definition of getting a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito. Keean Bexte is already locked out behind iron gates. There is no chance, even with a zoom lens, which he does not have, or his cameraman does not have, of even seeing Justin Trudeau address the media scrum. He has been stymied at that point. But this loser of an RCMP officer, he can't handle that. He can't handle that Keean is politely asking him questions, and he decides to do things like he wants to review the footage on his cell phone. This idiot doesn't realize you need a warrant to get that information. And then look how brutally, look how he's twisting his arm to exit Keean out of there. This is absolutely despicable. And I think Keean said a hell of a point that he didn't have to go through this kind of bullshit in Hong Kong when he went over there to cover the protests. And here we have in Canada of 2020. I mean, I wasn't there, Sheila, but watching that made my blood boil. And I think I speak for the vast majority of our viewership who cherish things like freedom of expression and freedom of the press and freedom of speech. This is probably making their blood boil too. Just to reiterate, I think Keean is currently lurking in the live chat. So if viewers at home want to send a message to him, he's watching. So send your kind words to him, because what happened to him was absolutely atrocious. Yeah, I think that is probably the most poignant point that Keean made, is that the CCP-controlled Hong Kong police didn't do this to him when he was there reporting on the freedom protests there. That Justin Trudeau's personal police force is more strong-armed and authoritarian than the Hong Kong police force, at least when it comes to dealing with Keean Bexte. And there's another, I mean, Keean is so great at thinking on the fly and responding to things on the fly. When he said, "I'm not resisting, you're just doing a bad job," I don't think truer words have ever been spoken. That cop also, I mean, let's talk about how these police officers, when they think that they are intimidating journalists and telling us how to do our job, they always fall for the whole like, oh, no, I'm no longer recording, the microphone's off. They think that that's like a real thing, that we always go and turn the microphone off and turn the camera off. These Barney Fife cops always fall for that. You can't ask us to stop recording, and we're not going to.
And we are going to lie and say we did. And thank God Keean and his cameraman didn't, that we got all that incredible footage and audio of Keean's civil rights being violated. Another point that I want to make, sorry, David, I know you probably have something very, very important to say, but the other journalists who all saw and heard what was happening to Keean, instead of a single one of them saying, whoa, what the heck? I don't want to participate in, like, they could have said, I don't want to participate in this if that's what's happening to other journalists. But they didn't even do that. They didn't even say, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't do that, and then go on to the press conference. There was not a single moment of pushback from any of those mainstream media journalists. They just looked at their shoes, averted their eyes, and headed in to get fed a bunch of pablum from Justin Trudeau. It was really atrocious. And I want to point out that that did not happen to Andrew Lawton and I in London last summer at the Media Freedom Conference when Freeland tried to keep us out. That didn't happen. And I think it's because those were not press gallery journalists, as in they are not the carefully groomed, carefully cultivated bubble of journalists that exist around Justin Trudeau. These were international journalists. I know one of them was from Vancouver. I actually saw her yesterday. They do work for mainstream media outlets, but they aren't in that insular, incestuous garbage can of the press gallery. And I think that was absolutely gross. They are not journalists. They are repeaters. They're not reporters.
You know, Sheila, there's a Latin phrase that translates into English as who watches the watchers. And once upon a time, the watchers of the watchers were the journalists. It was the Fifth Estate. It was calling foul on the state itself when it was going out of bounds. But you saw them all meekly, like a herd of trained seals, silently go in. We dare not rock the apple cart. And you talked about Trudeau feeding pablum to the journalists. It's a two-way street, Sheila.
Oh, yeah.
Look at those questions, such as the one from that Reuters hack who said, Mr. Prime Minister, are you worried about burnout? And what about that other question? Mr. Prime Minister, what kind of shampoo do you use? Gee, your hair smells terrific.
Yeah.
And you know what I love, Sheila, was Trudeau beaming, you know, his eyes opening, and he can't contain that Cheshire cat smile. And to me, that was like the lion tamer, right? Doing the big curtain dropping act where he's got these former kings of the jungle on podiums lifting their paws and doing little tricks like jumping through flamed hoops. He has completely domesticated these wildcats, and he's beaming. When he gets those questions, he is just saying, oh, all my training, all my bribing has come to fruition. Can you believe it? That's the impression I get when I look upon his face when I see those kind of questions being given our Prime Minister, Sheila. Questions that he knows Keean Bexte is not going to ask.
You know, those journalists, when they walked in, I was thinking to myself, I bet you 50% of them, if I had to guess, have their pronouns in their Twitter bio because they think that they are fighting oppression and fighting for civil rights. And when they see a real civil rights violation happening right in front of them, they didn't have the guts to even say, I think that's a bad idea. Like they couldn't express even a moment of outrage. And it just shows how fake they are. Yep. And how they don't actually believe in social justice, because what happened to Keean was, I would say, you know, if you care about social justice, then you care about charter rights, and they don't care about charter rights. And it's funny to watch the online outrage directed at Keean, because Keean got, you know, his arm twisted and escorted out. They say, well, you know, it's because you're not a real journalist. Because you said this, this, and this. Your personal opinions do not preclude you from being a journalist. They're actually protected in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The press is free. when people make those arguments, it shows how, as a society, how brainwashed an entire section of it has become when it's their prevailing opinion that you have to agree with the government and not be critical of the government and not say things strongly critical of the government to be allowed into a press conference. That the government can just arbitrarily decide that you're not a journalist. This isn't China. We have a free press. And I think Justin Trudeau's Liberals are going to find that out the hard way, because we are fighting back. If people want to support the work that Keean does, fighting for the free press, we're taking Justin Trudeau to court. They can donate at letusreport.com and help cover our legal costs, because this is not ending here. This is going to be much, much worse and much, much bigger for the Liberals now.
That's an excerpt from a daily live stream show that I do every day at 12 noon Eastern time. I talk about the stories of the day, play some fun videos, and most importantly, I take your questions and comments in what YouTube calls a super chat. If you like that, please tune in live. It's way more fun that way. You can join the conversation. And every day at 8 p.m., I have a special produced show with a whole monologue, and I interview guests, and I read my fan mail and my hate mail. You can learn more about both my daily live show and the nightly premium show at rebelnews.com.